Sorry. Welcome to the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast, a sneak peek into studio practices of all types of artists, conversations for artists and fans of art who are sophisticated and savvy. I'm your host, Caroline Karp. Let's get to it. Well, hello, everyone. This is episode number 12 of the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast. In this episode, I'll be virtually traveling from my Safety Harbor, Florida studio due north to Michigan and into the painting studio of Cheryl B. Widener. Cheryl is both a passionate artist and vocalist who has devoted much of her creative energy towards greater self-awareness and spiritualism that is often depicted in her paintings and drawings. She's an ardent plein-air painter and figure artist, and her work is widely displayed in both public and private collections. Well, hello, Cheryl. How are you today?
Good morning. I am really excellent. I'm very excited to be meeting with you this way. So thank you for the invite. I appreciate it very much.
So in your description, I read that you were a plein-air artist, and I know what a plein-air artist is, but some people that are watching this may not know what a plein-air artist is and what inspires a plein-air artist. So let's start there.
Oh my gosh, what a great place to start. Thank you. And yeah, there is a whole thing. So plein-air just means in open air. So it was started by the original French Impressionists. People, of course, were painting outdoors before that, but it wasn't until the Impressionists, the original Impressionists, came along, and the idea of capturing and expressing light and the phenomena of light. And there were some really interesting things going on in science at the time where they were beginning to understand prismatic phenomena, and which to you and me and just normal people and even children is the rainbow in the sky. So how does the light fracture up? So the science was beginning to really evolve, and so the Impressionists took that idea and also the understanding of there's a neurologic science in it as well, how the eyes work. So the cones in our eyes, the way we perceive color, from what we see to how our brain processes it and tells us then what we see, that loop. So a lot of times, you'd be looking at something, let's say you're looking at green mossy water on a sunny summer day, and all of a sudden you start seeing wait, I'm seeing this other color. I'm seeing this magenta violet, but wait, water doesn't have violet in it. Why am I seeing that? So there's a science of why. So the Impressionists, the original Impressionists, took their work to the outdoors, and they employed all of these understandings of how our neurology works in prismatic color. So they did a broken brush stroke where they would have a green and a violet next to each other. So you could have these vibrant green colors without it being garish and without toning it down like the tonalists did. Mm. So that's Impressionism in plein air. And in a nutshell, that's as tight as I can take it.
That is so fascinating because, just naturally, when I see green, if I want to really get in there, I'm adding red. Like I'm not adding it to it, but I'm putting it beside it.
Next to it.
Yeah. Right. You can see that a lot in my work. Now, tell me about how I can see that in your work. Like I know how I see it in your work. Tell everybody else how they can see it in your work.
Okay. Well, if I were to turn to show that.
There we go.
The lighting's really bad in my studio right now. Sorry about that. Certain times of day, that's a whole different topic to talk to another artist about lighting. That would be a panel grief. So you look at something like this, and when you look at it at a distance, it looks natural. But when you look up close to it, you can see that there are like magenta violets next to yellow greens. And they're laid in there in a way that when you look up close, it's an incredibly complex tapestry of color. So you really have to be, up close to it. This is, unfortunately, it's still wet, and
Is it
it's
really?
a large painting, so I can't move things around that are here, but
So Cheryl, I have a question. Would you say that you paint more in a pointillistic style, meaning do you have smaller brushstrokes or do you have large sweeping brushstrokes?
some of each.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I don't work with small brushes. I don't work with the tiny brushes, like, ever. And even if I have something with a super fine line, technically what I might do is I'll take just a regular brush stroke and boldly or carefully, depending on the energy of the painting. And that's the energetic component of my work too. So how you lay the paint down, I think the viewer, whether they're aware of it or not, they can pick up that energy from the artist as well, even if they're not thinking about it. So I'll lay a broad stroke, and then underneath it or on top of it, I might take another color and carve it in. It's a way of controlling line. So it's a little bit of everything. And depending on the topic or the subject, what I'm painting, what type of brushwork I use. So
Now, we were talking a little bit before this, and I know that you're really excited about a new collaboration that you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because that is very intriguing to me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So the energetic component of my work is something that's deeply personal to me. And as a vocalist, like, when I sing in this magic space when the music touches me, and then this magic happens. And the same thing with painting. So for me, I grew up being mesmerized by dancers. I was in the dance studio. I was on a circuit, and it was very much a very important part of my life. So when I really started painting regularly, it was no surprise to me to have dancer images showing up on even more abstract work. I'd have something where it's just what I call a mash of color and movement, and all of a sudden this dancer shows up, and oh my God, my heart just lit up. So even though I do plein air and landscape and all kinds of other things, and I love working with gold leaf and other metals, I'm an experimental artist, I always come back to the dancer, always. So this is something that is just like part of my DNA, it feels like. So I connected with a local dance studio and came up with a project. I'm calling it, or we are calling it, because she said yes to the collaboration. We're calling it Dancers to Paintings. So I started out the project with an idea because I love painting dancers. I also love doing children's portraiture. There's just magic there for me, and it shows up on the canvas. And so I've integrated these two loves, and I created a video showing an example of the possibilities in the collaboration. So the collaboration is introduced in a video that you can find on my website at my widenerfineart.com. It's in a blog. So it's embedded in a blog post, so it can be found there easily to see what I'm talking about. So I showed Shannon, the owner of the dance studio, the dancer paintings that I've done so far, including the one that's behind me there. That's one of a pair. There's a male and a female. I get distracted easily. Sorry. Especially when I get excited.
Yeah.
So I showed her my dancers, and I said, if you have students that can match these poses, I'll create this video demonstrating my idea that people could have me paint paintings like this of their dancers. So she had these students who are advanced enough to strike the poses, including this like really difficult one with the legs, straight up almost. And so she had students of hers strike the poses of the paintings I showed her. And I put them in the video side by side. And it is so beautiful. Everybody who has seen the video, I'm getting these messages all over the place through the website or on text messages, because she's promoting it too. Like that the video just makes them want to cry. So that's part of the thing about bringing emotional wealth to the work, where it's not just about the artwork, but it's so deeply personal. And then because dancing is so personal to me, I'm able to look at the pose and work with their dancers, their children, their young adults, and there's a couple of adult students as well, and translate them into these magnificent, really energized paintings that go beyond what the dancer is. It shows the emotional and the energy of the dancer expressing a connection. So it's more about, like, why does the dancer dance? What compels a dancer to dance? Or like, what compels a painter to paint? Besides what's beautiful or stark or ugly or shocking or whatever that is that an artist does in any of the artistic expressions, what is it that motivates them? So that's what I try to capture in my artwork.
Nice. And I know before this, I also asked you to bring that closer, and you said you could not.
Right.
It's heavy, and I was like, well, what makes it so heavy? So speak a little bit about what makes that so heavy and your process.
Okay. And I am a process painter, as are you. So process, for people who don't understand, is where you start out with a basic idea, and you don't just like execute it with it's a departure. It can be steeped in tradition, or it can be more contemporary. So process means you do this, and then it leads you to that, and so on and so forth, and it leaves room for what I call, and many artists call, the happy accident. Where you see something magical and you go, oh my God, I love that. And then that ends up being added to your work. So in my gold leaf pieces, because I'm an oil painter, and gold leaf and adhesive for gold leaf cannot be put on oil paint.
Exactly.
It might stay for a week, it might stay for a year, it might stay for 20 years.
Right.
And then it flakes off.
Yeah.
Kind of like Mona Lisa's eyelashes, they were there, and it was done in a way that was not archivally sound. So there's the answer to that question. So my process with working with a gold leaf with the oil paint, if I have a passage that has oil paint on it, and I realize, oh, that needs to be gold leaf, or any of the leafing materials I use, I have to take it down to clean canvas.
Yes.
And that means I'm using a knife to scrape it.
Yeah.
And the first time I tore through the canvas was the last time I tore through a canvas. So I mount all of my gold leaf pieces now on board. So I have resistance behind it, and that knife is not going to poke through the canvas. So it's a mere technical reason. The other reason for putting them on board is because when you're working on linen or cotton duck canvas, it is responsive to the environment. And you can take a drum tight canvas that's stretched, in such a way that like gets the artist so excited. And then the humidity and temperature situation makes it relax. And then, to the grief and chagrin of the artist, you have to remove that canvas from those stretcher bars and restretch it. And with the gold leaf restretching, I haven't run into the problem, but it occurred to me as like, that would be a problem. Because metal doesn't stretch. Right.
Right. So are you painting those? I got a little confused. Are they canvas on top of board, or are you just now painting on board?
No, this canvas mounted on board.
Interesting.
Right. And then depending on the piece, what texture canvas I use, if I use a finer canvas or a rougher canvas. Right. So for the gold leaf pieces, I tend to use the finer canvas weave. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with us? Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Oh, wow. I wasn't prepared for that.
That's okay.
um,
Where can people, I'm going to have it in the show notes, but can you tell us where we can find your work?
oh my God, yes, thank you.
Okay.
My website, actually, I have an interesting website. I share it with my husband, who is also a fine arts painter.
Mhm.
And this is what we do in this family is there are 3 out of 4 of us are artists. The 4th is a scientist.
Of
Um,
course.
so my work can be found on widenerfineart.com.
Mhm.
And the way I have the website set up is that our portfolios of work alternate. So we both have studio paintings, we have plein-air paintings, and then I have a special folder for my dancer series.
Okay.
And I, like I said, like I always get most excited about my dancer series. I have a new part of the dancer series that I have shown nothing of on social media.
Mhm.
And when I get this giant piece behind me
I
finished,
love
that's
that.
just the initial lay-in. That's
Mm.
just mapping out the composition,
Mhm.
and I haven't begun anything else yet. So that is in the super squeaky early stage. But it's part of a series, and it's a series with a theme, and it will be announced on my website when I have 3 of them done. I have 2 of them done. So, um, so there's that. And then I have Instagram at Cheryl B. Widener. And I do have a Facebook page, but I haven't been doing much with it. So
Mhm.
I hope people will find me on either the website or Instagram.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to talk to you when we're not live. But
Okay.
I wanted to thank everyone so much for watching and listening as I share. In March of 2020, I had a vision of starting the International Online Art Collective, which Cheryl is a part of. And we're a diverse group of artists from around the world who value the power of art to inspire, provoke, and heal. The power of this group is in connection. And from this podcast was born, first interviewing these artists and then branching out to all types of artists. And hey, I will also want to mention that I will be hosting a virtual gathering to release my newest collection, Sales, Souls, and Sparkles. The solo show is coming up on February 20th of 2021. And what's so great about this is it will be virtual, so people can join me from around the globe. And it's another opportunity to gather together, yet apart, for a fantabulous and cultural experience. So these come out every Saturday. So stay tuned for my next exciting episode. But thank you again, Cheryl, and bye, everyone.
Thank you.